When surveyors calculated Mount Everest's height in 1856, their instruments delivered an answer that seemed almost too perfect. 29,000 feet exactly. Precisely. Not 29,001. Not 29,003. The calculation resolved to the round number that every approximation dreams of reaching. So the team reported it as 29,002 feet instead. This wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a correction. It was a deliberate choice, and it reveals something fundamental about how measurement and trust intersect. The survey team worked for the Great Trigonometrical Survey of India. Andrew Waugh led the effort that produced this figure. His team never set foot on the mountain. They didn't need to. From vantage points more than 150 kilometers away, a distance greater than the drive from New York to Boston, they positioned their instruments and took sightings. Using trigonometry, they calculated the mountain's height from angles and geometry alone. No climbing, no summiteering, just mathematics. The trigonometric method was elegant but demanding. You establish a baseline at a known distance from the target object. You measure the angle of elevation from each end of the baseline. You perform the calculation. The answer emerges as pure geometry.
For Everest, this process meant identifying distant peaks and valleys where the mountain was visible, fixing those locations precisely, and then observing the angle to Everest's summit from each vantage point. Every angle was measured, every distance was verified, every calculation was checked.
The result came out at 8,840 meters. Converted to feet, that was exactly 29,000. Here lies the paradox. A perfectly round number from a precise measurement looks like invention. It looks like a guess. When you hear 29,000 feet, your mind registers approximately, not precise, not measured, approximate. No surveyor wants their rigorous calculation to sound like a rough approximation. No scientist wants the texture of certainty stripped away by a coincidence of digits. So they added 2 feet. 29,002. The surveyors understood that precision has a signature. Real measurements don't collapse into neat patterns. Real measurements have irregularity. They have the odd digit that proves someone calculated rather than estimated. This decision was cynical and brilliant. The extra 2 feet was a lie in service of truth. It was false information designed to make the true information seem credible. The surveyors knew their calculation. They knew it was right. But they also knew that people don't trust numbers that look too convenient. So they made their number look inconvenient. They added noise to signal accuracy. The reported figure became official. 29,002 feet. Maps printed it. Textbooks printed it. Generations of students memorized it. No one outside the survey team knew that the mountain was 2 feet shorter in reality than in every book. But that 2-foot difference was the surveyor's solution to a problem that had nothing to do with altitude and everything to do with how humans read numbers. The man the mountain was named after would have found this ironic. George Everest, the surveyor for whom the peak was ultimately named in 1865, never set eyes on the mountain. He never wanted it named after him. He objected to the honor. The mountain was called Peak B, then Peak X15, before someone decided that the man who oversaw the Great Trigonometrical Survey deserved an eternal monument in stone, whether he wanted one or not. Everest was dead by then. The mountain kept his name and kept the reported height of 29,002 feet. For nearly 100 years, this figure held as the official measurement. In 1954, the Survey of India returned to the problem with better instruments. They remeasured the mountain using improved technology. The new answer was 29,028 feet, 26 feet higher than Waugh's reported figure, though only slightly higher than what his team actually calculated. The mountain seemed to be growing, or India's instruments were more precise, or the mountain was actually moving. The plate tectonics wouldn't be understood for another decade, but mountains in that region do creep upward at millimeters per year, pushed up by the collision of continental plates. Then in 2020, Nepal and China launched a joint survey. They brought GPS into the calculation. They deployed satellite methods that would have seemed magical in 1856. Their answer came back as 8,848.86 meters. In feet, that translates to 29,031.7 feet. Not a round number. Not even close. A number precise to the tenth of a foot. A number that carries decimals as a seal of careful work. A number that announces without equivocation, this measurement was calculated, not estimated.